has been a pleasure, of course. But Mogwai, you're sticking around, and we are bringing in Impetuous Panda to cast with you. And Impetuous Panda, it's been a wild roller coaster already today, but what are you excited for?
Well, Cosimo, winning as a Spanish player, definitely a good moment for me. And also, of course...
Panda, mute.
I'm muted. I should be fine.
No, yeah, I agree.
I'm still muted, I guess?
Definitely.
Nothing has changed here?
Definitely, yeah.
Am I still muted completely?
No, we got you now.
All right. They couldn't even tell. I got you.
Perfect. What I want to say is that I'm very excited for Cosimo, obviously a Spanish player, a little bit of bias there, making it through. And Bajatak and What Am I both with 1-0 up on their group. And going into this next match, Mogwai, I think seeing the two leaders of the group, coming into this one, I think for me, they're some of the two best players in the tournament. So definitely very exciting to get this one going.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring up that match card to show you what is on deck for this match number 5. We're going back to Group A, and it is What Am I versus Bajatak, who are coming into this matchup with 1 win apiece. So I'm super excited to see who's really going to pull ahead in Group A, because this is going to determine quite a bit for that. But I think this is going to be super, super exciting. I'm just really curious to hear what both of your thoughts are on these players, and of course what you have seen throughout the day. And Mogwai, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you so that you can give us the rundown.
I mean, there's a lot of things to say about this matchup that make it very exciting. First of all, not only does it feature the 2 top dogs of the group as of right now, is also the first NA European showdown, and
we get the privilege of being 2 European casters. But I think for me, coming into this tournament, if someone asked me what's your top 4, these 2 players would be in it, alongside maybe Majin Bey and Alan for me personally. So getting to cast this match with you, since the moment we found out, I was super excited. Getting to cast also, just 2 very strong players, and Bajatak currently in a very hot streak in the European scene as well. Qualified to EU Masters today or yesterday night. Did a really good job in back-to-back fight nights as well, and did a good job in the seasonal. So he's on really hot form right now going into this one.
Yeah, really. I mean, I think the match that we saw earlier with Bajatak was one of the craziest series that I think any of us have ever witnessed. So I want to see how, is he a bit like worn out from it, because I would. Really excited to see how he performs against What Am I. And this is the thing that we were looking forward to the most with the World Championship. Finally, we get to see these amazing players representing their regions go at it. There's no longer any walls. Everybody is set to face against everybody, and we get to see who the real king is, or queen, of Legends of Runeterra. So I can't wait for this matchup, and we can take a look at the player profiles and see what their lineups are. Get a bit of a glimpse at them. We've already seen them before, but a bit of a reminder going on here as we see What Am I piloting Lulu Poppy, Sion Draven, and of course Zoe Nami. I say of course because this is considered to be the meta queen. And definitely not as represented in this tournament, because we've seen a lot of players from Asia countering this strategy, although not as effectively, you would argue. And now we're going to see 2 players who are bringing the deck, and the bans are going to be interesting. We can take a look at Bajatak's lineup here and see how they match up against each other, as there is your boy Bajatak, both of them having similar region combinations, but there are quite the differences in this lineup. Like, even though both are playing Noxus and PNZ, Panda, you know very well that there is a big difference between both of these decks and how they match up against each other as well.
And Bajatak is on his comfort picks. He qualified with this same lineup. This was kind of the optimal lineup that a lot of the top players in Europe, like Alan, Gamebreaker, Lobster, and Bajatak came up with going to the qualifiers. And he feels it's still strong enough. He feels the meta hasn't developed to the point where anything has drastically changed, other than TFGP Battle City coming into it, but hasn't changed really his outlook on the meta. I spoke to him a bit. He did rate TF Swain pretty highly, and he considered bringing it over Nami Zoe, but in the end he went with just the power level of Nami Zoe and how strong that deck is. Even in maybe matchups that are not favored, you can still kind of get the crazy turns and go off.
We have definitely seen, because just in case you guys don't know, like Nami is always considered to be unfavored against Draven Caitlyn, which is the deck that we're going to be talking about right now. But it got taken down due to some underwhelming draws and just a lot of really solid piloting. Here is the Draven Caitlyn archetype. It is essentially an evolution of Draven Ezreal, and it's what I like to call a Tri-Beam Improbulator deck. That's its main win condition, but one of the recent updates this deck has gone over is the inclusion of Lost Soul. I find this fascinating because before we would see Captain Farron and other options. Now there are some issues, like it's not all rainbow and sunshines with this inclusion, because unfortunately Improbulator and Lost Soul, if you draw too many of them in your opening hand, can clog up your plays a little bit. So how do you feel about the inclusion of Lost Soul to the archetype?
I mean, it's made it so much stronger. Before, it used to have an outlook of controlling the board, getting value over time, and then having kind of this slow burn strategy with Ezreal, with Farron, and kind of ending the game a bit later on, but you still had tools and a lot of reach to get Nexus damage. In this case, you forgo that plan altogether. Ezreal's out, and it's fully just value-centric, controlling the board. Infinite value with Lost Soul. You literally don't have to draw cards, you don't have to think about rummages or some treasures, because Lost Soul just continues generating value no matter what, so you can really choke out any other deck that tries to go into the long game.
I remember when we were all very confused about the rummage nerf back in the day, but now
this makes sense. That would have been pretty busted.
Lineups, yeah, regarding the lineups, I think we can both agree that a Draven Scion ban onto What Am I is very likely from Bajatak.
Yeah.
The other ban is a little bit more debatable, but we can. There's several things that we could expect, and it'll be interesting to see what they opt to go for. But it's going to be really interesting to see how these players match up, and especially with potential mirror matches, even though that is actually not going to be a case, because it is in that got the ban. So the deck actually did what it needed to do for Bajatak. Like we were talking about earlier, how he was thinking about bringing TF Swain, but no, like now, if your deck gets banned, it was a good deck to bring.
When I spoke to Bajatak yesterday, just to get a little bit more insight about his lineup strategy and what he thought about the matches, he thought that Draven Caitlyn was, let's say, the theoretically correct ban for What Am I to go for, but he also thinks that, he perceives Zoe Nami to be so strong that there's a chance that he just, out of respect for the high roll, or the chance to just really take over a game, he'll ban the just highest power level deck instead, and that is going to be Zoe Nami, of course.
This opener looks amazing for Bajatak with the House Spider, Draven backup with Lost Soul. The only thing that's missing from this hand is a Tri-Beam Improbulator, really, as he's even got that Thermogenic Beam that can be very flexible, and there's a lot of small things to hit with it in this matchup specifically. So good opener for Bajatak as we see the Beast Mama there go down for What Am I, and it's likely to be followed up by a Bandle City Mayor that can be easily answered here by Bajatak, even though not really, because this Thermal Beam could be a little bit awkward onto it. We'll see.
And the big problem with this matchup is that I think it's very favored for Bajatak, simply because, the strategy for What Am I is to kind of flood the board with the units, eventually get payoff for that with Poppy, with the Ordinal Arms, with rally effects, to kind of double up on that payoff. But when your opponent's deck is all about controlling the board and all about just making sure that you're dealing, punch for punch, blow for blow, every unit that's played for What Am I, it's going to be answered for the most part by Bajatak, with challengers like Lost, with like the Twin Blade Revenant, or just with spells like we're seeing with Flock, with Thermo Beam. So it becomes very difficult to have a board to make use of that payoff, and it tends to be a very lopsided matchup in favor of Draven Caitlyn.
Really like this line of play from Bajatak. One could think, well, just drop the Arachnoid Sentry, stun the Mayor, and then bop it with Ravenous Flock. But you always want to keep that Arachnoid Sentry for Poppy when she comes down. And dropping this Twin Blade Revenant allows you to threaten that Mayor, but also it plays some mind games, because What Am I could actually bait Bajatak here a little bit, because Bajatak does have to respect the Poppy, right? And he does have the mana to cast it. So there is an argument for making the opponent burn a little bit of mana and skipping your attack, but ultimately that's just not something that I think Bajatak will end up doing when you have such a solid attack here with Draven and the Revenant and Double Spider. I like how he went for that axe onto the Spider so that it could not be blocked, and I think this is a very clean attack. You go for the Twin Blade Revenant onto the Mayor, and you swing with everything else.
Yeah, the Lulu play there, obviously, I think it really reads that there's some kind of buff to say the Lulu if she is dragged by the Twin Revenant. That being said, there's also a Flock available to clean up Lulu if she is buffed, and you would be getting your Sharp Sight out of your opponent. So I think this might be correct. I mean, this might be just making sure that Lulu dies this turn, that there isn't any kind of shenanigans with the Commando and just a lot of elusive damage next turn. That might be more of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the Mayor is very easy to remove regardless, right? So you don't have to really aim to do that. We're going to see a Sharp Sight here, potentially setting up a block for Draven. Side actually. I really like it. Really like it.
The Commando might die to a Flock, but you're getting the Draven in return, and that's pretty valuable.
There's another Draven there for Bajatak, and Lost Soul is back in the hand. WhatAmIXX has a decent open swing here, but not really the kind of swings you're looking for. There's a Loof Traveler. It's definitely not a card you want to take here, since you're just going to be discarding the Lost Soul. So you may just go...
Against Scion, it's sometimes great because sometimes you hit the Scion, but in this matchup, when the top end, there's no more Pharons anymore, you know, this deck has evolved into just this Lost Soul-centric value deck going to the late game, it makes it quite difficult to not help your opponent.
If we see Poppy go down here, that would be the easiest Arachno Sentry of Bajatak's life. There are some things to consider, though. He has 2/2 in hand that he could play before Poppy, but if he does opt to do that, even though he's buying some more time, he does not have that Sharp Sight backup, right? Sharp Sight can save Poppy, theoretically, from a Ravenous Flock. I say theoretically because we see 2 of them. But definitely, you know, the quickest Arachno Sentry ever. This Yorosmith, though, is actually really, really annoying for him. And he can't Ravenous Flock, and he could Thermal Beam, but then he misses on
exactly. Ideally, you could pick how much mana to waste on the Thermal Beam, but that's not quite how it works. So you would have to commit to one play or the other. And I think Poppy is I think we've all had that moment where like I wish this was the case, but this game is balanced for the most part, and that is not allowed, obviously. But good decision here, I think. Takes down Bandle Commando, the elusive unit that might just get more and more chip damage and value over time with the Allcats, and takes down the Poppy, which is obviously the big boogeyman in this matchup that really swings things out of control, with the buffed units surviving, getting more survivability, and then surviving till Yordle of Arms as well. So that gets even scarier with rallies. But in this case, until now, 13 HP for Bajatak. The board has been pretty controlled, I think, and he still has, obviously, a lot of tools, like we mentioned, with the value from Twin Revenant.
Oh, and dropping the Aloof Travelers right after. Ooh, some Aloof on Aloof Crime right there, and gonna be targeted. This is how good this 2-drop is, man. This is how crazy the Yorosmith is, that you're prioritizing it over the Bandle City Mayor with this Twin Blade Revenant. This Bandle City Mayor is a survivor. He just sends so many threats, and you have to deal with those threats that you never have time for him. And that's a problem. And now you just go for the Thermal Beam. Finally.
That being said, after the Mayor has survived a certain amount of time, you're gonna expect there to be less, dual region cards in hand because they've just been played out when you have the chance to. So after a certain amount of time, after seeing 3 or 4 cards played, you're gonna expect there not to be that many more. And there wasn't actually. It was just gonna be the Ranger and the 6 mana, but still too expensive to play on that turn, I think. And until now, again, still the board controlled. You have some fumes now for some extra reach if Poppy does come down, and you have a chance to rummage to get cards into hand as well. Or Draven even for the axe.
This is what we were talking about with the Lost Soul. Like, single-handedly gonna bring Bajatak back into this game, at least from a value perspective. After he trades with it, he can just start discarding again, potentially discard it with Rummage. But here we see Yordles in arms. WhatAmIXX smells blood. He just wants to go in. He's got that rally. He's got that relentless pursuit.
You want to get a kill off here, but this makes things a bit awkward. If you want to rummage, you have to rummage away one of the kill spells, either Get Excited or, Draven, for example, as well. So it is a bit awkward here. You want to try and kill off one of these units before the buff goes through, obviously, because if not, that's just a lot of value for your opponent. And the Ranger Resolve here.
The Ranger Resolve is good, but it stops the rally. Like, if he has to resort to that, he no longer can rally, and that takes a lot of power out of his punch.
And you can still rummage in actually, it's going to be burst speed, the resolve. Because there's an interesting thing with some teams that a lot of players maybe don't understand initially, is that when you put it on the stack, regardless of you not having a card added to hand, if you get a card after it's on the stack, it'll still deal the 3 damage. It'll kind of, respond to that action that you've taken. So you have a chance to rummage and draw more. But like you mentioned, I think just the fact that you can not have to deal with the rally might be already strong enough, but these are 3 very buffed units now for WhatAmIXX.
Yeah, I mean, Spiderling definitely going to fulfill its purpose here by preventing a lot of damage and going to be using that Revenant to trade as well. taking away the threat of the Relentless Pursuit for this play is all that matters here for Bajatak for sure. What am I getting close though? Getting him down to 8. This is looking to be a pretty, like, honestly, like, pretty even series considering how good the matchup is generally for Draven. There is the rummage.
I think there are times with the Orbital Arms where you just get overwhelmed if you don't control the board enough, and just it's so much value as a 5-drop, especially with Ionia not being in the meta, so there aren't really any disruptions for the spell itself. It can swing things really quickly out of control, especially with Rally. We have to kind of deal with that turn 2 times. Can be backbreaking for many decks, but like you mentioned, 8 HP is dangerous. I mean, with a certain combination of cards and rally effects, chip damage goes through because it's a very wide board, and then even if you're controlling the board, you're getting good trades, you might just die because of it.
This Ranger right here, super deadly actually, really scary.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what the overwhelming, when you have to deal with 2 in a row, sometimes it's just too much.
Wow.
And the board has gotten too big.
Wow, that's nasty. He gets a scout out of it too.
Especially
how can you survive this?
Exactly, on the scout it's just even worse, and the sharp side here as well.
Sharp side too, with still enough backup for rally. This is done. Bajatak's like, oh my god. Yeah, this is over.
This is one scary board. No Poppy, no problem. You're just gonna get the double Yordle and Arms back-to-back attack token turns.
Wow. I was saying this, like, when we were looking over the decks and I saw Yordle, like, every time I face Yordle, like, every time somebody casts that spell against me, I just get obliterated. Like, this card is so powerful. He has to, what is he fishing for, though, at this point? A Sentry actually helps out tremendously here.
And he might be thinking, you know, he can stop the scout unit, but he doesn't know there's a rally. He thinks, you know, I can stop the scout unit, I can just chump block everything and just trade away my entire board. But there's a rally coming after that.
There's a rally, exactly.
You just can't do anything about it at this case.
Oh, he just stuns the
one mana
elusive.
now as well.
He stuns the elusive just out of, like, yeah, this is done. This rally is just gonna be crazy. Oh my god, this is crazy. And even if he managed to survive, like, he would just completely lose his board here. Wow.
Which sometimes you can come back from, but in this case, it's not going to happen. And especially because we know there's a rally effect, and that just seals the deal. You get 4 different buffs off of the scout unit, hitting everything on 4 different swings, basically, or 3 different swings. So it's just, again, this is a deck that, like you mentioned, has a good matchup against the Lulu Poppy rally deck, but it can just overwhelm you. It can just, you don't have the right removal at the right time, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. The Mayor's stuck on the board for a long time as well. And just, it got out of control.
Completely out of control. What a blowout here. What a dominating win here for WhatAmIXX in a matchup that was not in his favor by any means. And now he just needs to get the win with the Nami Zoe. There's still a shot here for Bajatak, though. He did lose a favorable matchup, but his lineup is specifically well tailored for Zoe Nami. Though we have seen Zoe Nami just overcome bad matchups in the past, right? But I do prefer a control-oriented sort of lineup than just full-on aggro against it. But we saw very recently Zoe Nami just beat down Draven Caitlyn in the last series. So, yeah, Bajatak is back against the wall.
I think Zoe Nami is really comparable to Aziralia in you know, the past season, where it was so strong, the power level was so high that even if you had a good matchup against it, it could still do, you know, this crazy sequence of things that you just couldn't answer if they just drew the perfect cards in the right order. And it's kind of similar with Zoe Nami in most cases. There are some matchups that should be, you know, pretty auto win because you just have the perfect set of cards to answer everything. But in some cases that are, you know, 60% matchups, control if Nami comes down and just comes down leveled up and just buffs everything immediately.
Oh, it's a very good comparison. Honestly, like this, the snowball potential of this deck, it really does remind you of 47 Blade Dance attacks, right? Like it does kind of like fall into that category of like, okay, this is just ridiculous at this point. So yeah, that could definitely be the case here. We see Bajatak opted to go with the Sivir Demacia deck instead of the Draven Caitlyn.
Is the Nami top deck on turn 3, getting ready for her entrance on turn 4. We do have double Concerted, so we do have some interaction from Bajatak. I think he is also running 2 single combats, so he does have ways to answer this Nami, despite buffs, obviously. With Concerted, it is quite difficult to kind of out-heal or survive attack from 2 big units, but there are still not any big units on the board, so you have some time, some leeway, I think.
Oh, you love seeing that Moonlight. Moonlight is amazing with Nami. Definitely the best pickup right there. And we're going to see he has to go for, I believe, he can go for no, there haven't been any spells being played here. But he can just go for something like a line him up or whatever, get that attune going off with Nami and then just go off, especially following that up with Sparklefly and all these neat tools. We also see that WhatAmIXX variant is playing a salvage, right? Which is not really common amongst other lists running around.
There's kind of one slot for a tech card. Salvage early on was taking that slot in some lists in top master players, and then it's kind of been, you know, Mind Meld, Hush, obviously, sometimes 2 copies of Hush, Bastion in Cosimo's case. So a few things have changed, and there are different options, but Salvage is not, I think, a bad inclusion because it does help you refuel.
No, for sure. No, I definitely. Ooh, very interesting pass there from WhatAmIXX. Definitely was not expecting that. I guess really trying to slow down Bajatak here. He was down on mana, and being forced to play Nami when your opponent has all the mana in the world where they can just concert her down, like, you gotta respect that. Which makes me think that he'll play Sparklefly first, and then play Nami afterwards to make sure that he has several targets to. Yeah, like WhatAmIXX trying to. Okay, no, he just goes for Nami immediately this time. All right, he just wanted to have more mana backup to make sure.
Exactly.
That he can capitalize
not even
on her.
To make sure she can survive, but just to get maximum usage out of Nami before she dies. That's a lot of top players have now been noticing that sometimes playing Nami on turn 4 against a deck that has answers to her is not actually correct. It's actually correct to wait till 5 and then have just more value and try and swing that in your favor.
Makes a lot of sense here.
7 HP for WhatAmIXX. He might have, obviously, heal. You see Sparklefly. I know. I'm just, I'm noting that already 7 HP and WhatAmIXX is comfortable.
How much damage did that, like, Jinx aggro deck deal in that game, actually, and still didn't manage to win? Like, I think it was like 50 or something. Like, it was insane. Like, that Sparklefly is just so nasty, and here we go. I mean, you gotta go for it. Get a level up action as well. Very important.
You have the Shapestone back up here with the 1 mana. That might be unexpected for WhatAmIXX. He's going to go now for the attempt at getting Nami to 6.
Definitely play Shape. There's no world in which you don't play Shapestone here. On to Akshan.
And with 1 mana, there's no way to buff Nami anymore. She can buff, obviously, her different...
maybe,
I'm going to say champions
Moonlight?
Because...
Moonlight into Guiding Touch here?
Yeah,
I think makes sense.
But you have to do it... you can't do it on the stack because she's already maximum healed, so...
No. I mean, Guiding Touch phase. Like,
just to get the value.
Just get the value. Yeah, just Moonlight into Guiding Touch. Get that Sparklefly beefed up. But he goes for the Spell Shield instead. What is he fishing for here? A Shapestone? Yeah, Shapestone. I like that a lot because he's got the Moonlight. Ooh, he's got the Omaiwamu Buffaroo here. Okay, so...
Not quite enough to save the Nami still, even with stealing the Shapestone for the +1 buff. You don't have the mana for it anyway, but still, now a 3/3 Sparklefly, a 5/3 Zoe is a different story. You do still have, obviously, the Sharp Sight for Bajatak, so I think he is feeling quite a bit safer with that top deck.
Let the tide carry you.
We were talking about it, Mogwai, trying to juice Nami for all she's got, and
I mean,
WhatAmIXX did exactly that.
He juiced. We don't know about anything else, but we know he juiced here. He got that value. My lord, this champion is something else.
That being said, Sharp Sight already removes one of these 2 threats. And then you have Shelly, you have Salvage for the refuel. But what Salvage picks up is going to be very important. And obviously, getting a second Nami is pivotal, I think, in trying to, once again, get a ton of value. And with the cycling and with Nami on the board, potentially, off like a Guiding Touch or maybe a Salvage, you can kind of get back into the game again.
For sure. I mean, like, we're really talking this up, but at this point, like, these 2 big elusive units are a threat. But like you mentioned, there's the Sharp Sight, there's the Concerted Strike, just
Screeching
perhaps
Dragon
the 2 most important cards in this matchup, really. Yeah. And he's also going to be progressing Akshans, the Warlord's Horde. Once that Warlord's Horde flips, that is just I don't think I've ever seen that happen and the player not win. So
Akshan is low key very strong. Obviously, we've seen Sivir take up most of the spotlight most of the time. But
like, there's so many like there's a lot of complaints running around about certain champions, but Akshan is like one of the most powerful champions that just people does not talk about how good he is. Like, it's crazy.
Mostly because he comes out on turn 2, and then the value comes in a lot later. So it's kind of just this association between the landmark and the champion. But yeah, it is very strong, of course. But Nami Zoe is comparable, I think, in power level. If we're talking about just straight up power level, these are the two big boys going into tournament setup where Saber Akshan hits a lot of great matchups and just can do very well in the right hands, and Bajatak's hands are, you know, in some people's opinions, very much the right hands because he has teared it with this deck. It's a comfort pick. He got to 1,000 something LP last season with this deck, so he's very comfortable on it. He knows all the in and outs.
He did great in the qualifiers with it too.
Exactly.
I think sharp side onto Bryce Steele is mandatory here, right?
You have to stop one of these two attacking now to stop the damage and also just to control the board.
Yeah, sharp side onto. You don't have to worry about that keg. That keg can generally be scary, but when you're facing Zoe Nami, like it's not really. It's just there for.
There's a limit on how much damage it can really do.
Yeah, exactly. I think sharp side onto Bryce Steele is pretty damn safe here, though it does prevent you from being able to play Concerted Strike and a Screeching Dragon, and that may be what Bajatak is really wondering about here. But you have that single combat backup. He's actually going for the Concerted Strike. Very interesting.
His opponent is at 7. This stops the healing, and it also keeps his board intact. Sharpsight would essentially trade, so this is actually a very good play, I think, from Bajatak.
Yeah.
There's 6 mana to work with, so there is some counterplay available.
Does What Am I play Make It Rain?
I believe he does not, but I can find out.
I mean,
in just
I'm
one
gonna.
second. He
I
does
have
not.
you put all the effort. I just sit back. Okay, good.
No Make It Rain. Players have kind of moved off of that Make It Rain, possibly opened up the space for the Salvage, for example, in the deck list. So it is very
I mentioned
tight.
like it's a one-off. Yeah, like if it was a one-off, it was something to consider. But if because these are open deck lists, like Bajatak doesn't have to play around that. So he doesn't. He gets to like disrespect that powder keg even further. So very, very good. I'm forcing the What Am I to go for the double trouble, but he gets one non-blocker, which is hilarious.
Exactly. We were talking about the fact that Bajatak didn't want his opponent to heal, and also wanted to try and maybe get a big swing in next turn because What Am I is so low. He was depending on the Sparklefly to carry, at least with a Sharp Sight trade, and still heal, but she didn't. So he had to go for the double trouble, gets a non-blocker, and we also didn't mention Bajatak also top decked single combat, so he keeps on getting all the answers he needs in this matchup.
See what he got.
Shelly comes down and Shelly just disappears basically with any kind of well, again, Caster Blessing comes in because the second single combat is drawn.
But we could both agree that the longer this game goes, the worse it's going to be for Bajatak, so he needs to find a way to close soon. But we mentioned there is that Warlord's Horde ready to pop off there as he's gonna go for the Sandstone Charger right here.
And it's a big swing, but also it's just a big attacker that you can trade in with something like a single combat if you need to make sure you kill something.
You know what? I really like What Am I as a player and what I've been seeing. There's a level up, by the way.
That was something we're not
huge.
keeping track of, but that could be massive.
I can't believe it's been that. It's honestly, like, that was faster than I was expecting. We're gonna lose it, powder keg, ladies and gentlemen. Ninja powder keg right there.
We heard it dissing that he wasn't impactful, but now he has elusive, and now things have changed, Mogwai.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like, I honestly, you know, I was keeping track of, like, I promise, I was keeping track of Zoe last series, but this time it just kind of like flew under my radar. There's a lot of things going on here. Like, we were focusing on Nami and the Warlord's Horde. There is the Sun Blessed Vigor. We do see double single combat though, so there are definitely options here for Bajatak. Gonna go for the sharp sight.
You would want to use the sharp sight defensively, ideally, but in this case you have no option. You have to just go for it here.
Exactly. That elusive Legion rearguard, no longer a joke. He missed out on lethal by 1, by the way. That sucks, huh?
Yeah, if he would have had with the sharp sight on the Akshan, would have gone to 6. Of course, there's still a guiding touch and there's still mana for it, so not exactly lethal. There's still counterplay available. I think Bajatak maybe wouldn't take that risk, especially when sharp sight is so useful in this matchup defensively.
Down goes the guiding touch. There is a hush, and there's the Vagabond. All right, how's his attack looking for What Am I? That powder keg getting bigger and bigger.
There's Shelly coming down.
Shelly. Oh, he can. Oof. Okay, but he can't combine it with anything.
You have the salvage to refuel.
Whoa, but wait. If he plays Shelly, he literally can't like trigger the Shellys.
Yeah, he wouldn't have really. I mean, it happened when you play all of these early spells. The turn that he used Nami to its full potential, he wasted all kind of the cheap, cyclable
that's a good draw, though.
spells.
That Burblefish is a good pickup here, but there we go. The Warlord's Horde flips over, and Bajatak chooses card draw. No sharp sight, but double single combat, and there is a Sivir as well. So he can play Sivir and ensure that the Hush doesn't stop it. Yep, down goes a single combat. He has to go for that now.
And you can't get the second Shelly down on board now, so this is definitely, I think, the right play. Again, most of the time when you play against Zoe Nami, if they don't have Nami or Shelly on the board, you want to create interaction before they come down. That way your opponent is forced to use his spells and his mana before he can really capitalize on the buffs.
It's almost as if Nami is not in the picture. It's a fair deck. Just
Nami comes to the hand now, though. She heard you, Mongwa. She heard the disrespect, and she's like, all right, I'm going to show this guy what's up.
Yeah, with 2 mana. Unplayable. Terrible, terrible champion. Yeah, it's looking great for Bajatak all of a sudden. Like, he can survive this attack. And he's got that Sivir, which I assume is leveled up at this point. Like, he's leveled up several times, actually. And we are going to see that buff, though. Wait, is my math off? No, it's not.
Messenger Sigil comes down,
the
the buffs come in. You still have the second single combat kind of as a response. You also use the Sharp Sight last turn, so you can play defensively in this case to kind of get a surprise blocker. But you're still not really in lethal range here.
I feel bad for that powder keg. It really, really wants to fight. It's like, put me in, coach! But it can't. It can't move.
Down to 3, both players really low, but now Bajatak has the attack token turn with Sivir, with the challenger, with 2 challengers actually, so has a chance now to control the board and try and swing for his own lethal.
You can even go for a single combat here. Like, I think you can single combat onto Sivir. Sivir single combat onto... Yeah, I mean, what were you playing around there at that point, right? Like, I think there was a huge argument for that. But I mean, no, wait, I forgot. The Legion Rearguard can't block. Because he's terrible
nor the keg. So there's 2 out of the 4 here are not doing their job right on defense. It's going to be a Shen emote from WhatAmIXX. And the game 2 goes to Bajatak. Ties the series. Again, Bajatak, we were talking about, he has the right tools in his deck to control this matchup, and he found them. That's the key thing in a matchup like this. If you don't find them, Zoe Nami can just, run you over doing its own thing. But he found all the single combats, he found the sharp sides, he found the concerted strikes, he had all the right interaction, and he was able to get the win there.
Honestly, that was a really fun series to watch. It was very intense, and Bajatak just kept on taking... Like, those elusives were becoming really threatening, but it was funny to see that Legion rearguard just not being able to block, though it didn't end up mattering at the end, and some really good piloting from Bajatak, ultimately.
Yeah. I think both players really showcased how that matchup plays out in theory. How each player is trying to do their own thing. Nami coming down on 5 from WhatAmIXX was I think, a key, play you have to make with this deck. But overall, Bajatak, the reason why he brought Sivir Action in both qualifiers and in this tournament is because it does well into Zoe Nami and obviously has a lot of the right tools to stop its game plan.
Bit of a weird hand here for Bajatak. Double Draven, double Caitlyn, all 3 mana plays. Will Draven Caitlyn find some redemption as we go into the 3rd game of the series here?
You're usually very happy to have, curving on 3, having your champion on 3, your, Caitlyn and Draven very, very strong on curve. But in this case, it might be a bit too much. You want a bit more versatility in terms of, what cards you have in hand, maybe a Lost Soul to start getting that value generation. And I talked about Bajatak. One of the key things in this matchup is your usage of Twin Blade Revenants and how you're able to really control the board and priority pass even and kind of force your opponent into not making a certain play when you're attacking because they're scared and kind of burning mana in the process.
Yeah, but speaking of Twin Blade Revenant and Lost Soul, they are not to be seen. Something that's important to note with this deck is we saw Bajatak prioritizing Caitlyn over Draven. That is actually the correct line of play. In the initial stages of this deck, when people were starting testing with Caitlyn instead of Ezreal, they weren't really expecting... I remember speaking with Deech, like a Brazilian player, and he was surprised that it's actually better to play Caitlyn on attack than Draven. Even though you want to get those axes rolling, getting those bombs, those flash bomb traps planted as early as possible is ultimately more important. So we see double trouble from WhatAmIXX.
Especially going off of what you're saying, especially in this matchup, one little point of damage on a Nami or on a key elusive and enabling a flock before you have to actually damage with a spell is game winning in some cases and can really swing things in your favor. So trying to maximize that possibility is always going to be, I think, the right play.
Very quirky lineup here for WhatAmIXX. You got McDonald's,
assembling the Avengers that no one knew we needed.
I would ask you, like, I'm not crazy here. Like that is literally like a box of McDonald's, like potato fries from McDonald's, right?
That is the intention, yes, by the way. Very,
Okay.
very astute observation.
It is intended because people say
Yes.
that I was tripping when I was saying that.
No, I think I also saw that since day one.
Okay,
But there's a thermal
thank
beam
you.
coming down onto the
Yeah,
Nami.
with
The
no
attempt.
Cascade or Sunblitz Vigor support, like he's gonna be able to counter this.
That being said, it is obviously going to be damage now. It is going to be, in the range of a Peacemaker, for example. So you're going to have and Flock, of course, if it is drawn. And the board you're buffing right now isn't elusive. So I mean, that's another key thing. We talked about trying to force the Zoe Nami player to use their spells and use their mana when they don't really want to. And when you force that by using your own spells and creating interaction, it really does help the matchup a lot for Bajatak, for example. And what am I has to just obviously create here a scenario where you don't want to block with either Draven or Caitlyn. They're not great defenders, they're more quick attackers. So in this case, they can just push free damage here. No trades necessary.
Feels really good to be able to push 6 damage right there. There's the Ravenous Flock. Very important draw. Very, very important draw because he does have answers, but he's running low on mana. And we both know how much value Nami can get out of just like 5 mana. So Bajatak has to play reactively here.
We're missing WhatAmIXX's hand. He had a Vigor. He used the Pill Cascade instead last turn. He can use it here to try and maybe get a sneaky trade on one of these 2 quick attackers. But there is going to be fast speed follow up, and you're going to expect it obviously from Mystic Shot, from Get Excited, from Peacemaker. So it's not really I think the play you want to make. It's a bit too risky in that case, and he goes for just again taking the damage. Both players trying to get that full value and kind of using their life as a resource in the process.
Very, very interesting position. WhatAmIXX is putting Bajatak in here, passing me like, hey, I am content with this right now. You know,
Content,
I have a.
But if a trap hits the Nami on the swing, he won't be so content anymore. So we talked about it. She's set up now with 1 HP where she would be, at that risk. Now you have the Peacemaker
But I'd like
here.
to go over the odds for that though. I'm pretty sure they're not that great.
Quite low,
Yeah.
obviously. But the chance is there, and it could be, a game swinging
Gotta believe.
opportunity.
No response here from WhatAmIXX. I would love to look at his hand, maybe because he has another Nami, or because he had spells to play there. Yep. He does have
There's
another
the
Nami.
second Nami coming down. We're gonna try and
that's
hope a
brutal.
trap hits the Nami here. No trap whatsoever.
No
Scorched Earth
traps.
comes in. And now the Zoe can receive buffs from Nami, so now you're in a much, I think, more favorable position if you're WhatAmIXX. And again, a big
Very
swing
nasty
still.
looking open
These double
attack, yeah.
troubles.
Oh, definitely. McDonald's MVP. Like, this is a really, really strong spread out board that just, like, one of the things here is, one of the tricky aspects is, like, if you can't just open attack, right? Like, you got to be playing some spells, because otherwise Bajatak can very easily just pass back and take this hit, because it's a pretty wide hit, but it's not that crazy. That draw,
we
flash
talked
bomb
about
trap.
We talked.
Oh,
this
it's
is
a
why
trap.
you play Caitlyn early. She can really get some good value in the mid game automatically without you doing anything at all. There's all of a sudden swinging certain things in your favor. You just healed for 3 basically. We're gonna take that 3 damage and took off a unit off the board. So very good luck there for WhatAmIXX, or for Bajatak rather. But it's a setup you have to make early on. It's something that's kind of calculated to some extent.
For sure. We see 2 blocks here being designated here by Bajatak. He's gonna go for the axe immediately, and just the Whirling Death, because he doesn't want to wait, and he's gonna let Caitlyn go down here. I mean, Caitlyn has already done most of what she needed to do, and you need to weaken this board. You need to start removing it.
Not just that, but the buff would go on to the 1/3 anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it would go to the 1/2 first, and then onto the 1/3. But
Exactly.
there is a
So there's a high
possibility of 2
chance.
spells. There's
Exactly.
a very high chance for sure.
And there's the Whirling Death, still going to be killing the Zoe. 1 more spell probably coming in, and there's still a Mystic Shot and a Get Excited. So this will be a kill on Zoe, despite Nami trying her best, and the Vigor as well coming in. Still a Mystic Shot and still a response here, and a level up on Zoe, actually, or on Draven, but he would be dying to the 3/3.
Yeah, if what I was saying is that if he had enough fodder to double Spinning Axe instead of discard the Spinning Axe with the other one, he would have been able to survive with Draven here, and that would have been super clutch. Never mind though, actually, no, we forgot about the boost from the Bakai Reaper. Never mind.
Yeah.
That very, very good line of play there by Bajatak, but unfortunately there's still a Nami on the board. I think you lead off with the Aloof Travelers here, just try to weaken their hand as much as you can. Let's see what. Yeah, they're down
there's
with
a
the
Shelly,
and there's that.
and if
the target would have
that trap would have hit the Nami, we talked about it. The setup for the Flock would have been fantastic. Not just the Flock, but the Scorched Earth. And the Scorched Earth, it doesn't give, it doesn't care what your health is. If you're damaged, and only Guiding Touch would save you in that case. And now, once again, you're put in a position where if you try and take down Nami now, there's a unit that's very important to buff on the board, so you don't feel bad if you're WhatAmIXX, as long as you can get some value out.
Oh yeah, Bajatak just going for the get excited onto the Sparkle Fly, trying to shut it down on its tracks. I mean, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it just knocks. That's a big threat. He just got out of the way.
Not having cheap, faster burst speed spells really punishes WhatAmIXX there with his current hand. Again, still with a slow speed spell from Burbles Fish, so this makes it awkward a bit if something's put on the stack.
Ride the surging tides.
All right. And down goes the Spider. And now the jailbreak. He's going
pressure
wide,
still.
man.
Yeah, from the double troubles.
These are not elusives, but he's got a challenger. He can get one of these out of the way. Now he gets an attack here.
And this forces a block from the Burble Fish, so you're at least taking down an elusive in the process, even though it's a fair trade. And there's not really a way for another one drop to come down for WhatAmIXX. It would be pretty unlikely with the way his deck is built.
This game is really intense. Here we go. Oh, it's the Destined Poro.
Oh,
wow.
no.
Wow.
Wait. The traps, and it hit the tough. So the tough there
exactly. That's
stops the damage. And there's no Flock available on this 4-3 Poro now. The Exalted Poro.
Oh my god, this Poro
putting
is
in
gonna
work.
become the MVP. It's going to become the MVP, dude.
Let the tide carry you.
Oh,
The
and
Shelly comes down as well. And if it comes down, it dodges the... Yeah, it's going to dodge the Aloof as well, but it's going to be just a full swing here from
full swing
WhatAmIXX.
allows him to get rid of Nami, though. Unless he really... no, it doesn't, because he lethals you. What am I talking about? You have to block into the fries. You don't want to, but you gotta kick those carbs out of the diet. Like, it's the only way.
And they get excited, not quite enough to kill anything by itself.
Yeah, you gotta block. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that feels bad, man. Wow, this what is Exalted Poro, right?
Exalted Poro.
The Neo of Poros.
And WhatAmIXX showing how he's adapting to the game plan set out for him. No elusives, no problem. Just gonna use a ton of double troubles and still get the buffs on units, obviously from Nami. Finally does hit the Nami now. So now Nami is in Flock range, and there is no Guiding Touch. It was used on the last turn to heal up McFries.
Can Bajatak come back
HP
from
though.
this, or is the pressure too real? There it is. There's the Pale Casket. Continue to buff.
Some Blessed Vigor as well.
That. Scorched Earth plays through this though. So as he goes for a Some Blessed Vigor here, well, I mean, I assume he's going for it, but maybe not. I mean, you want to get the value out of it, right? So you do go for it, especially with Exalted Poro, man. It's Exalted Poro. He needs to be bigger.
And the Poro can just absorb more traps as well, possibly on the next turn.
Yeah. There it is, buffing the Fleefa tracker right there. Gonna force the Scorched Earth, I assume.
And I'm wondering if it wasn't maybe the play to just use Scorched Earth initially on the Nami.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Have the
because
Flock.
what else are you targeting, right? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he could have gone for that. Spell Thief. What did he steal here? There's a lot of spells that he played. Scorched Earth. I mean, not incredible options, but Mystic Shot is good. Mystic Shot is definitely good. Oh my lord, this match.
Mystic Shot is good for just going face. Don't even consider it as a spell to control units, but
just
Bajatak
going
is at
face.
4 HP.
And buffing, he actually preserves it in hand though, because he doesn't want to buff anymore.
He wants to wait till he gets a Shelly or Nami,
Yeah.
maybe on the top deck, so why go now when you can get more value out of it to try and just go for the lethal. Caitlyn,
All right,
level
Caitlin's
up.
in. Level up, yeah, really important. But
Not going to
maybe
be
a bit
enough.
late.
Yeah, not going to be enough, obviously, damage by any means, because 15 HP still for WhatAmIXX. But we'll have to see. He has the Get Excited. The Get Excited, of course, cannot kill anything. There's going to be a Guiding Touch. Is this just lethal?
He could he could try to bait a block here, because you got to keep in mind that 4 flash bombs being trapped, being set. Okay, let's see what happens here, because you could draw a trap now. Yeah, there it is.
Finds it. Still not relevant enough to do anything here.
He has
There's
lethal. He has lethal. Would that line him up?
Yeah, he does.
It can be disrupted with the get excited, but will Bajatak realize this?
That's the big thing. That's the big
Will
thing.
he
He
realize
doesn't know
this?
the Mystic Shot was stolen. He has to understand now that if this play is being made, he doesn't
over.
realize it. Yeah, it's
It's
done.
over. Oh,
There's
my
no spell
goodness.
disruption from Bajatak. Mystic Shot from Spell Thief to face now, and that will be
What a series.
Game 3 going to What Am I? And I think you had to maybe read the information of why is my opponent playing, you know, this barrel into, you know, this spell at my Nexus unless he maybe stole a Mystic Shot there. So What Am I takes the win, tops this group, gets his 2 wins here, at least tops the group for now, and Bajatak gets his first loss of this tournament.
That was super tight. Very well played by both players. Super impressed. And What Am I taking the lead and making us European fanboys look bad? But I'm not too bittersweet. That was a great series.
It definitely was. And MV Poro? Anybody? Chat?
For What Am I, definitely.
Absolutely. That was a really close series, and for What Am I felt like it was really important to especially get the comeback with the Zoe Nami deck, knowing how unfavored it was versus Bajatak's lineup. So what was it about that game 3 that really put What Am I over the edge, Mogwai?
Well, I think both players do pretty decently, because even though we saw a couple of copies of the champions, I think the problem with Bajatak's draws initially was that he had little variety within his hand, right? And we were talking about how cards like Lost Soul are very important, getting the Twin Blade Revenant in there and trading into their units, forcing answers in combat instead of having to chain spells is very crucial, right? And Bajatak not finding that definitely hurt him. But I also really was very impressed by What Am I's piloting just in general, not only with Nami, but with all of his decks. I think he made very little mistakes, and I really like how he set up that sneaky lethal in the end that Bajatak did not even see coming at that point. Very impressive.
I think also the adaptability. You know, we didn't see really a big elusive game plan. We saw no Sparkle Fly. We didn't see the usual game plan for Nami Zoe, but still double trouble.
Exalted
got a
Poro.
lot of good units. Exalted Poro, the Bakai Reaper. He went with that game plan, put a lot of pressure on the board, and even for a deck that is going to control the board most of the time with Draven Caitlyn, it wasn't enough, and you were still sneaking in 6-7 damage every attack token turn, and in the end, you couldn't stop the Mystic Shot combo.
I mean, that's what we expect out of these players that are participating in the World Championship, right? Sometimes you got to do something a little bit different in order to get that win. But let's go ahead and pull up those standings. Obviously, What Am I is sitting at a 2-0 record right now. I mean, this could be very well a 3-0 at the end of the day, but we will have to wait and see. Coming up next, we do have Group B, and so it'll be really exciting to see who is going to be able to get up there in the standings as well. But I'm super excited to see how everything is going to shake up. We do have another match coming up next, and we will be following along with Aikato versus Cosimo, and that means I'm sorry, Mogwai, you will not get a chance to cast Cosimo again. But we will have to say goodbye to you for now.
I got to cast Exalted Poro, so I'm happy. That's all I wanted.
True. Well, we will see you a little bit later, Mogwai. Thank you so much for casting these last 2 matches. Impetuous Panda, you are sticking around.